Hello, class. Let's tackle chapter 14 today. We're down to our last couple chapters. This one is on customer satisfaction, loyalty, and empowerment. These topics probably have not been discussed a lot of times in traditional marketing up through the 70s and 80s, but in the last 30 years, this has really been important. And logically, it makes sense. But your textbooks from the 1970s probably would not contain information like in chapter 14, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So you may have heard of WOM, certainly read about in your text, but it's word of mouth. And just as everybody knows, it's when people are talking about you. And honestly, positive word of mouth is the best marketing any company can have. Advertisements are great, promotion tools are great, salespeople are great. But when you have people talking about your company and your products and how good they are, it's great because it has such credibility. People generally don't brag about someone else or another company unless they really mean it. And in most cases, you don't really have anything to gain by telling someone, wow, this is a great product, you should try it. It's not like the company gives you a commission because someone else went and bought something based on your recommendation. Now, there also can be negative word of mouth too. And so if people speak poorly about your product, service, or company, then that's a bad thing too. And so we don't want that. But good or bad, the thing that you need to know is that word of mouth is far more effective than anything else that we do in marketing. And quite often, word of mouth is free, right? You don't have to pay people to talk about you. Now, there are things that we can do and set up where we invest money to try to generate word of mouth, positive word of mouth, and we'll talk about that as well. Next term, buzz, marketing buzz. I'm sure you guys know this, but basically when we talk about buzz, we want to know how much are people talking about our company or product. And so most of the time we want a lot of buzz, and companies will go out of their way to try to generate buzz, because when people are talking about our products, thinking about them, and when they're considering what to buy, we're at top of mind and they'll consider buying us. So there's a lot of different ways that you can create buzz for your product or your company. You can hold press conferences, you can host events, you can give out samples, social media. There's a million different ways that you can create conversation and buzz about your product. Something relatively new in marketing, we talk about influencer marketing. Now, a term that I think we covered in one of the previous chapters, maybe in consumer behavior, was the term opinion leader. And this is someone that we look to for guidance or advice in terms of buying a product. It might be someone you know, it might just be someone who's recognized as credible or an expert. So again, if a dentist comes on the television saying, you should really use this floss because you'll never have a cavity again. Even though you don't know that dentist, he is a dentist or an actor dressed up like a dentist, and you assume he knows what he's talking about, and you might be likely to be influenced by that person. So this whole idea of influencer marketing has changed in that it's also become very personal. So people that you know, well, sometimes it's not so personal either, but through social media, influencer marketing has exploded. And so you hear different terms in marketing talked about, like communities. The text talked a little bit about the Nike community. So what is the Nike community? Well, it's people who love Nike products, and they're probably on the Nike Facebook page and on the Nike forum or the Nike web page, and people are sharing information about what shoe they wore and why they liked it. And sometimes you'll get this. I'm on an app called Strava. It's a free app, and it kind of tracks your fitness level. So my Garmin hooks up to it, and I didn't think much about it at first, but now people follow me and I follow them, and you kind of see what their workouts are, and then maybe you talk about things that why'd you have such a great run, or why was that a bad run, and share advice and tips. Well, marketers could work their way into that. Maybe their products would be helpful in helping people perform better or solving problems and things like that. So again, before the advent of social media, these influencer communities, while they existed, it's just much easier now because you can always find a community online, and they can grow big and be across the world because internet's accessible and free to everybody. So a lot of companies are trying to build communities of people that will dialogue and talk about areas that are of interest to their product, and which hopefully eventually might lead to some sales of their product. So influencer marketing, influencer panels. These would be people that you would put on like in forums, and they might regularly speak out on something. There's actually this group called UCAN, that I've kind of come across in the last month. And they're trying to promote running as a sport, but they also have a lot of supplements and nutritional drinks and things like that this company sells. But what they've done is they've attracted a bunch of professional runners, past Olympians, people who are big into ultra running. Either they're great now or they were great back then. And then these people, they will solicit their advice, have them talk about pre and post workout routines. And then of course you'll get a plug every once in a while that if I use my UCAN protein, it gives me energy. But people go and join these communities because they want to get to know these runners and learn some of their secrets. And so they put together these panels to do different things, and effective way of marketing. And of course you've heard of viral marketing, and that's really cool. That wasn't really even a term before social media. There really just wasn't ways for things to go viral beforehand. Because of social media, though, it's so easily to distribute and duplicate. So again, if a YouTube video goes viral, well, how does this work? Well, it's a funny or great or amazing video, and then people are just like, oh my gosh, you got to see this. And it's so easy to forward and share, and then it just gets legs and it goes off and takes off on its own. Before social media, messages were not able to travel that fast. But seriously, if you get the right content or thing on social media, it could go from 1 to 100 million in a day. I mean, that's not that unusual. Well, it's kind of unusual, but it's very easy, very possible, just because it's so easy to push a button and forward it on. Okay, another part of the chapter talking about loyalty programs. So this has been a marketing strategy of a lot of companies where they're trying to not only get you to buy their product or service once, but they want you as a repeat customer, and they want to form this special relationship with you. And in marketing, most of the profits usually come after the first sale. And so it makes sense why we would want to do that. You've probably been part of some loyalty programs. If they even sell them anymore, or give them anymore, the Subway, card where you buy 6 subs and you get a 7th one free. Or, different store, visit the Quick Star, you visit 15 times, and the 15th time you get a free soda or something like that. So there are all sorts of loyalty reward programs out there. The airlines, right, with their miles. Every time you fly, you build up miles. And if you use your credit card, you build up miles. And then at some point, you have enough miles where you get a free flight. And so, loyalty programs, intentionally designed to try to hook you in to a relationship with the company. And they're trying to provide you some benefit too, and that's why you do it. So rather than just skip around all the time, you have this relationship with this one company, and if you keep giving them your business, well, then you will build up rewards, right? And then they give you something valuable or free after a while. And kind of a win-win, if you will. And so the text talks about 4 different effects of loyalty programs, which is worth going through. The first effect is called the longevity effect. And as the word sounds, it's like to keep you as a long-term customer, right? In the very beginning, we talked about customer lifetime value. And I'm not sure I mentioned this or not, but Taco Bell estimates that a loyal customer is worth about $15,000 in their life. That's a lot of tacos, right? But if you think about it, well, if you're a loyal Taco Bell customer, you probably go there twice a week, right? Which still isn't that much, but then take twice a week throughout the year. Wow, now you went 100 times. And if you live for 50 or 60 years, or 80, right? 80 times 100, now that's 8,000 times. And, that's a lot of times, isn't it? And not only you, but if you have someone in the car with you and you want to go to Taco Bell, you're going to take them with you. And so they probably work some of that into the formula as well. So the point is that little things add up a lot. And so if we can get customers to keep coming back, we can really enhance our profitability quite a bit. So the longevity effect is there. Also, the blocker effect. If you tie someone in with a loyalty program, then they just don't even think about the competition anymore. So again, you go to Quick Start, it's like, well, as long as I go there and get my gas or pick up a loaf of bread, I build another visit. And then before I know it, I get a free soda. So rather than thinking about, well, if we go across the street, it might save $1, you're just like, no, I'm going to go here and continue to build my reward. And so essentially, effectively, you've blocked out the competition. The spreader effect. This is where, when you have someone as a customer and they build a relationship with you and they trust you, then you have a better chance of selling them something else. So if you have a product line of 10 different products, you build loyalty through a loyalty program, you sell them 1 or 2 products. Well, since they're seeing you, they might be likely to try the other 8 products. And that's what that spreader effect is. And then the accelerator effect, well, that is where people get kind of excited, like, hey, I'm getting close. So again, the Subway sandwich example, I was like, oh, I got 3 checks on my punch card for a sandwich. I only need 3 more. And so, where should I go? Well, I might as well go to Subway. And so you might actually go to Subway more often than you normally would because of that card. And you want to get your free sandwich in a week versus maybe waiting 4 or 5 months. And so those 4 factors, actually are help increase sales and relationships with customers. Let's talk about customer service for a second. And the goal here is we want to have satisfied customers. And if you think about what does a satisfied customer do for you? Number 1, they come back. Number 2, they will probably speak favorably about your company. So they're a good advocate or referral source for you. Sometimes customers will get to the point where we even call them partners, and where you develop a relationship with them. They might give you some feedback on how you can do something better or give you an idea of how to do something differently. And so those are all, right, really positive things and would make a lot of sense to try and develop that kind of a relationship. And that's why we seek to have satisfied customers. Now, the flip side is, what about dissatisfied customers? That is the worst thing in the world that can happen in marketing, okay? So the obvious one is dissatisfied customer probably isn't coming back, okay? And that's bad enough. But on top of that, sadly, many people like to gripe about when they are mad. They felt like they're cheated, they're dissatisfied. And so as a result, dissatisfied customers tend to talk a lot. And they will tell other people, don't go there, they'll screw you over. Or, it's really bad service, the food's horrible, the people there don't know what they're talking about. And so they actually chase away other potential customers and create bad image for the company and for their reputation. So you're probably not going to please every single customer that you have, but one of the things that companies try to do is bend over backwards to make sure that they have really satisfied customers and that they avoid the dissatisfied customers, because they can hurt you a lot. Let's see here. Yeah, that's pretty good on that. we're seeing more and more where companies, to make sure that we can satisfy customers and take care of them, where they're empowering their employees to make a bad situation right again. So they read some examples in the text where it talked about, if, in a department store, I'm trying to think of how the example was, but maybe in a restaurant where somebody spills wine on their dress and, gets a big stain on it. Whether it was the waiter's fault or even the person's fault, I think it was Ritz-Carlton where they said that, they empower their employees to, like, you know what, let me take care of that for you. We'll pay for your dry cleaning bill. And, again, we don't necessarily want to have a policy where, like, hey, contact us for a check. It's that personal touch. Somebody noticed you were, experiencing something bad, and on the spot, they went out of their way to try and make things right for you and fix it. And that feels really good as a customer. So one of the things that you need to realize is that nobody's perfect. No business is perfect. Every business is going to make mistakes. We try not to make them, but it just happens. But customers are pretty forgiving if you seem remorseful and if you act on it quickly. And a lot of times, the way a company handles its problems can actually be a benefit. And the customer might think more highly of you after you made a mistake than if you didn't make one at all, because they see how you respond, especially if you bend over backwards to try and make it right. They'll be like, they really care about me. Whereas before, when everything went well, they didn't know if you cared about them. They just like, well, it's a good product. But we find out what companies really are about when we have a difficulty with them. How did they handle that? With courtesy, with respect, with care, or did they just blow us off? They say that a lot of times about your friends. You find out when who your true friends are when you're going through a really tough time. Who stands by you? It's kind of easy to be nice and pleasant when everything's going well. You don't have to do anything, but so same thing with marketing and with business. Couple of issues to talk about with regards to marketing and ethics. Let's see, I'm not sure why this came under this chapter, but that's okay. So there's a term in marketing called sugging, S-U-G-G-I-N-G. And companies shouldn't do it. Sometimes they do. But basically what you're doing is you're selling something, but you're doing it under the guise of, I'm not selling you. Sometimes companies will do this, like, I want to sell you a product. So I'll say, I'm gathering some marketing research, trying to get some information, do this study. And then through the process of gathering information, I'm looking for ways to, oh, you know what? I get it. How about, try and sell you that product? And it's just kind of looked upon as just not very ethical practice. If you want to sell somebody something, be upfront with them and just say, I have a product to offer that I think it might help you. I'd like to explain it to you or whatever. But don't pretend that, I'm not selling anything. And then later on, you try to convert it into a sale. It leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. And, we're trying to be honest and forthright and upfront. People do sug sometimes because they feel like they can't get in the door with a direct sale or something. Nah, I don't want anything. Well, let me try this way and then I'll move to a sale. And it's just generally considered bad practices. We've been talking a lot about the online and social media stuff. So another unethical marketing practice is spam. We probably all receive some of this. And it's not that you can't ever send anybody an email, but a lot of companies will just inundate you with promotional messages. And if they do it, if you don't want it, it's not good for marketing, not good for anybody. There are certain laws out there which, you can opt out or unsubscribe. And, if you still get sent stuff, you probably have cause for legal action. I'm not sure how much you'll get out of it, but sort of like the do not call registry, to take telemarketers off where they can't call you. Sometimes they still do, but I guess the point is those are poor marketing practices. We don't endorse those at all. We don't want you to spam people. We don't want you to be bothering people on the phone against their will. But that doesn't mean that you can't go out and try and initiate business and develop relationships. But there's a time where you need to stop and that's not harass people and make them upset. when they've expressed that they do not want to be communicated with. So those were a couple of things. You may have heard the term permission-based marketing, and a lot of times we do that with internet-based marketing. We can do it with the phone call too. We basically ask people, would it be okay if I sent you information? Would it be okay if I presented this to you? And people give you that permission, then you have the green light to go ahead. If not, then you're supposed to kind of back off. And then the last subject to talk about in this chapter would be warranties. And, warranties obviously guarantees a product's performance. And, the good thing about warranties is it gives the consumer faith and trust that your product actually does work, and you'll stand behind it if it doesn't. Warranties are not required by any means, but in marketing, we sure like them, because if we tell people it's a high quality product and something goes wrong, we're willing to back it up, well then that's integrity, and that gives people confidence. So those were some of the main highlights of chapter 14 on customer satisfaction, loyalty, and empowerment. So I'm going to post this video up for you, and we'll be along with the next one and the last one on pricing.